Let's continue with this imaginative map of the musical material we have in front. To me, section from bar 33 until bar 49 represents a time period of reconstruction, of restoring for our hero. It might be a physical reconstruction and restoring if we read that tragic event that appeared right at the beginning as a physical injury like a stabbing, or might be a spiritual, psychological restoring if we want to read instead that dramatic event at the beginning like something more on the spiritual and inner world of our actor. And we are seeing that this restoring is not something easy to work on. In fact, it looked to me that we have two attempts that eventually, in a way, fails, and then we need to go to the third attempt to instead reach a point of actual re-establishment of energy and willpower that then will lead to stand on and face the adversity and face the dragon, in a way of saying. That would be what I think is happening from bar B52. Let's see in detail if what I'm saying makes some sense. So we are in this moment. The first attempt that ends in the deep range of the keyboard, and then again another attempt. Here something new happens. Here, after going 3 times from the top to the base, there is an actual resurgence to a point of energy reestablishment. Let's say a few things on the technical side. Basically, we are in front again to the same technical patterns that we have discussed in the first 2 pages. So once again, at first familiarizing with the harmonic position of this note, like sounds helpful to then explore further this division of the line to search those finger grouping that you can split these imaginary chords to find where the hand is in a comfortable configuration to handle with agility those few notes in the group. For instance, emphasizing the rhythm, not to get, how to say, lost in the flow of speed and of the number of notes. So and I also practice stopping with the notes where the strong beats occur. same things for the next lines. And a couple of notes once again on the accuracy of the score, of the map that Rachmaninoff wanted to leave to us. As basically in all Rachmaninoff's work, we find two types of accents in the score. One that is the sharp horizontal tip here, and this suggests the requirement of a higher degree of energy, so a stronger delivery of energy for this accent. And then we find the other type of accent, the flat line, that suggests a lower degree of force, more an underlining on the notes. So we have to consider this while studying. Another thing I would say for these lines is that you see that we start with the energetic accent, so then the flat accent that keeps occurring on the first note of the left hand groups of notes. But we can feel that the more we are playing downwards in the keyboard, we are dealing with a heavier action, and in addition we are producing notes with a darker color, and so I think we have to pay attention, and even more probably in the next line of descending, not to lose in energy, in clarity, to maintain these simple melodic descending lines in evidence. So studying, we have to feel, and I think to adjust both the prehensile action of the finger as well as the action of the arm, so that the heavier the notes become, the heavier the action, we don't have the risk of having these notes slipping out of the audible range, considering that there are several notes in the higher part of the keyboard occurring, overlapping these notes. Let's see once again. And another two hints. When we meet these arpeggio chords, so the first at the end of the first descent, that is, we should keep in mind that the important note in that chord that is played with two hands is actually the bass note in the right hand, that is the final note in that melodic line. Weight on that note and trying to reduce the energy in the rest of the arpeggio. And also I would say that to me it becomes comfortable, convenient to strike the first note with the sharp energetic accent of the descending melodic line with a movement that is, instead of a dropping, that is the more typical action, it would be with a pushing of the arm on the finger, so something like and after that, instead, I feel it becomes, at least for me, more comfortable to return to a conventional up-down action of the arm. Then going on, we reach bar 45, so we are at the end of the third descent, and it seems that now the restoring work has been successful, and there is a crescendo of energy until to a very assertive moment at bar 49. So again, the principle of studying are the same as before, so mark rhythmically when we play slowly the beats of the bar, not to get lost in the flow. Also removing notes to concentrate well on the important beats, and then filling up with the secondary notes the bar, something like. And notice that the note in the top of the arpeggio is giving the direction, so it should become a very clear aim in your mind while practicing. And vice versa, we can study like. Now at bar 49 there is quite an integrated game between the two hands. Again, I would remove notes, starting building a rhythmical bass choreography. Starting from notes. For the left hand, especially when it's working in the higher range here, it becomes for me comfortable to play with a push and drop. So. Here at the end, instead, I feel my body suggesting to return to a more conventional dropping right on the first note of the group of notes. Again. Filling up. And now we reach what I think is the main fight, the battle with the dragon, right? So we have the energy reestablished, the spiritual energy reaffirmed, and so we find again the line that in the first two pages was played with the two hands. now the right hand to work it out alone, and we have this arpeggio in the bass. And we notice there is a little note here, the bass well declaimed, well marked. But I wonder, I don't know the right answer, whether this is referred to the real bass notes. And certainly those notes must be played with proper energy, not to be overcome by the quick notes in the right hand. But however, considering that Rachmaninoff already marked with his flat accent those notes to make sure that you will highlight them, I wonder whether that note, the bass well marked, that in my edition appears actually starting with the first note of the arpeggio, is instead referred to the note in the arpeggio of the left hand. So and in a way I feel that this might be the case, because those notes that are between the very bass and the top semquavers are at risk of remaining basically unheard, because also they are harmonic note quite consonant with the harmony of that measure, so they tend to be a bit overcome by the chromatic lines that are happening with the right hand. So the bass well marked to me sounds like not to lose your awareness of these notes, and for me it's kind of helpful to think of this arpeggio as a wave of crescendo, with the aim being the top note of the arpeggio that is incidentally the octave note of what you are playing with the right hand. So let's play removing notes to see what I'm saying. So let's try again, filling up a little bit. And playing together. Since now we entered in that section of the piece that is more intricate, as we don't have anymore the option of alternating the two hands. Instead, as I said, the right hand has to work out the entire semiquavers line. Well, to familiarize very well with these bars, I believe it's very effective to repeat each bars a few times until you feel very comfortable with the pattern, and then doing the same with the next bar, and on and on. And what I'm saying would be two bars together and doing the same starting patterns. And let's not forget that we have a mezzo forte, so clearly there are so many notes being played and with speed, so there is a higher sonority. So I think we don't have to exaggerate with the energy when we press these keys, although the bass notes in proper degree of intensity, otherwise what is happening with the right hand and the left hand would make them disappear. So we are approaching the last section of the work. We have a new brief dramatic element, that is this line in the left hand. So let's be aware of that. It's an important element to add tension in the frame, and so it must be played with sufficient intensity not to be again covered by the quick semiquavers. Now we enter in the final section of the work. We are in pianissimo. The right hand is again playing the main line of the beginning. Now he's doing that alone, and the left hand is playing a rhythmical line. So I would start studying removing notes. Establish a solid rhythmical bass line once again. Grouping together. Again. Progressively filling up a little bit. And this applies also for the rest of this line, that is and of course paying attention that in the left hand, when we have these arpeggios, the leading line is the thumb. And here I find it particularly difficult, complicated, so I would group in different ways the patterns of notes to establish a solid familiarity with this intricated line. Then going ahead, we have to study again carefully the left hand with this broken arpeggio to find confidence and fluidity in the movement. And perhaps grouping together the notes at time. The right hand should take advantage of the degrees of freedom that your arm and wrist and hand has in terms of rotation of lowering to integrate what your fingers alone can do. Again, removing notes and progressively filling up everything. Or playing all together the notes to kind of take snapshots of the position that helps to gain confidence in the line. And then filling up slow at first. At bar 81, I think these slurs used by Rachmaninoff are very illustrative of the choreography for our arm and hands in the right hand. So drop here. Of course, I am exaggerating to make it evident, but also initially to gain the feeling, and then acquiring speed and naturality. Of course, these large movements become tinier and tinier. I think it's also useful to at first remove the rhythmically non-important notes in the left hand. And then the next two bars, we have the left hand with an accent on the strong beat. And so I think it's useful to practice rhythmically the frame of our rhythm in these two bars, like. And with the right finger, because we have to play these notes in the right hand, changing the finger as the chord position changes. So. And I think grouping in a way like is beneficial, at least with my hand. This is the note grouping that make these quarters more ergonomic. And pay attention that there is no accents in the right hand, so in this rhythmical exercise I think we don't have to use a strong energy on the note, and we have to pay attention to keep it very brief. Instead, the left hand is the one that is really going deeper in the key for this accent. And then the last waterfall, this beautiful descent. Again, let's study the bass rhythm. Let's notice in the accuracy of the writing that there is an accent on each main beat of these quarters, except in the last quarter of bar 86. And even on the very last note of this descending line, on this C we have no accents. And I also noticed the way it is written in my score that I have groups of 4 notes from here in the right hand, keeps going with the left hand. And I noticed that it's very interesting. For me,
it becomes uncomfortable to play the last 4 notes with the right hand, as I did with the groups of notes in the upper quarters, but instead it is written, I guess, by Rachmaninoff. He's suggesting to play the first 3 notes with the right hand without having your elbow pushing on your torso in an uncomfortable way, and taking the last semiquavers with the left hand. That means to land on the final C with the 5, the weak finger, but interestingly on a note that doesn't have any accent mark. So for me it was necessary to break up this long line in little cells and practice the rhythmical choreography on little segments of it, like and then the final line, it is marked fortissimo, always marked, sempre marcato, but interestingly Rachmaninoff writes 2 strong accents here and on the last C before the C major chord. So to me this is clearly a request of in the overall energy of all this chord to put emphasis on those particular chords there, and probably getting engaged with our body, even with our head, helps a little bit to remind this and performing this convincingly. I hope you found this presentation interesting and you enjoyed it. So I wish you to enjoy your study and your practice on this work, and I look forward to seeing you in my next video.